I can raise my prices, but you also know like at some point there's a cliff, and at some point it's all just going to fall apart. We had 2 facilities in construction and 1 facility that was in the middle of an expansion right when COVID hit. You're talking about facilities that were getting multiple hundreds of people a day to 0. We fired them. Like we laid them off. So many people were so angry. And I say people, like my staff. And I was like, why are you guys angry? Like all the gyms were closed, you know.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode. I've got Joe on with me. Joe, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why don't you give a brief introduction about you, what you do, what you're all about, all that stuff.
My name is Joe Zentmyer. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I focus primarily on like retail businesses. I previously I started and operated First Ascent Climbing, which grew from 2015 to 2021 to 7 locations of about 30,000 square feet each. Sold out of that business a couple years ago, and now I've been working on starting other new businesses. And that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome because I think I might have gone to one of your locations.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to remember which neighborhood is in. It was based in Chicago, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And man, I wish I remember which neighborhood was in downtown. It was close to downtown.
Were there ropes or no ropes?
No, you're talking like ropes, like as in like helping you come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was ropes. Yep.
So was it in Avondale?
It might have been that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about like you get off the highway and maybe it's like a block away from the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like tucked back away from the main road. Addison.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was me. Yeah.
Went to a phenomenal Cuban sandwich restaurant right afterwards.
Yep. Yeah. That's right down the street. Yeah.
Great facility, man. That's so small world that you started that, because I'm in there and, you know, me as another fellow entrepreneur, I'm walking around and I'm like, this thing is a fucking cash cow. I could see like there was a ton of people there.
Mm-hmm.
They're all paying whatever per month, plus whoever's coming in paying the day rate. It's a community because these climbers just like are all together and they're helping other people and they're helping each other. And like, I'm watching the facility. I'm like, man, there's not a lot to run it other than your front desk people. Great model. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get into this. But then I'm like, no, you're already doing too much.
Yeah. You know, the trick with rock climbing gyms, which I think is pretty similar to most fitness facilities, is the toughest part is getting them started. Like it's a lot of capital, it's a lot of planning, probably a lot of financing, because you're talking about big buildings, a lot of equipment, a lot of specialized equipment. But then, like you said, like once they're open, you're essentially kind of renting vertical wall space.
Yeah.
To clients, which you have a lot of. So they tend to do very well. And it was only until recently that there was ever really like a climbing gym that failed and closed. Like they've been expanding really rapidly across the United States, and essentially like all climbing gyms used to do very, very well. And just in the last like 2 or 3 years, there's been a few that failed, and because it started to get popular enough that people tried things that were a little too risky. Yeah.
So what was the average square footage of your facilities?
Oh gosh, I'd say something like 30,000 square feet.
30,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then can I ask you some like basic numbers behind the business, like cost to build out or something like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I got to generalize, and it's not necessarily specific to First Ascent, like
Sure.
because our facilities were built like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
fire
then
away.
you're
Mm.
so then, what was your typical build out cost of something like that?
Um, so like this is kind of an interesting evolution of rock climbing. Like back in like when we were getting started, like 2013 to 2015, the idea was like, yeah, you could kind of bootstrap it and have
Mhm.
like a pretty low startup cost, comparatively speaking. And so I think the idea was like, okay, maybe you don't have a locker room,
Mm.
maybe you just have bathrooms, maybe you build the climbing walls yourself, maybe you do the
Mhm.
flooring yourself, that kind of stuff. Um, and so back in those days, you could do, a real simple gym, with everything 2-3 million dollars, and
Mm.
that's you doing a lot of the work yourself.
Mm.
But these days, like there's full size climbing gyms in the 30,000 square foot range and bigger that are budgets over $20 million.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
so that's kind of like been the evolution of the industry for sure. Is getting bigger, investing more upfront as things have gone by. Yeah.
Holy cow,
Yeah.
because, like, you know, with me being in the gym industry,
Mhm.
um, I always say, typically, gyms nowadays, like large box gyms, 25 to 30,000 square feet, so similar size,
Mhm.
you're gonna be somewhere in the, you know, 150 to maybe $200 a square foot to build out.
Mhm.
And then you got all your equipment costs. Your equipment costs are probably another, call it million. And then your soft costs are, another half a million maybe. And then you've got your operational costs until you can become profitable, right? That cash
Right.
shortfall, that
Right.
could be another at least half a million or a million.
Mhm. Mhm.
So all in, you could be, $5, $6 million to open a gym. And the
Mhm.
idea is that you want to be able to get paid back from that investment within 5 years typically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but man, 20 million on a climbing gym,
And
man.
and the thing you have to realize, and this is where climbing gyms are different than your typical fitness gym is, and that's kind of numbers that I'm quoting. You're doing a ground up build of a new building,
Oh, okay.
and you have to do that because you need those tall ceiling heights.
Yep, that
So
makes sense.
you can't just get a rented space that
Mhm.
has. Typically, you can't find a rented space with 40-foot tall clear ceilings, 50-foot tall clear
Mm.
ceiling. So when you are developing a climbing gym, your choice is to self-develop or try to get like a developer partner that's
Mhm.
interested in owning some real estate and then renting it to you.
Mhm.
Um, and so for climbing gyms and climbing gym expansion, like the key is to really have good real estate partners. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes complete sense at that price tag then.
Yeah, so there's definitely like with climbing gyms, there's much more of a need, I would think, than like in the typical fitness gym to understand real estate, get into real estate, and develop relationships with folks that are landlords or have property that they're looking to develop. Yeah,
Gotcha. So then you scaled that to 7 locations over what, 10 years roughly?
yeah, a little less than that. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And then you ended up selling off. It's funny too because when I went to your facility, um, and I looked at it, they didn't do franchising. It was all corporate owned,
That's right. Right.
and I was like, "Man, I feel like that's a huge, I don't wanna say miss, but, an opportunity on the business side to be able to franchise."
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. So in the climbing gym industry, there have been a couple of businesses that have attempted franchising,
Mm.
and obviously this is my opinion, but I don't think it's gone especially well.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's because first of all, it's just like a new model. So trying to
Mhm.
figure out how to have a franchisee get something of value that helps them run their business is like what do you need to provide? I don't know that that's been figured out. But then
Mhm.
I also think, as we kind of alluded to before, like the challenging part of climbing gyms is really the part where you're building them, and
Mhm.
then the ongoing operations is kind of like the easier part.
Oh, wow.
So like franchising is like a little, it's kind of getting most of the time the way franchises work. It's not really getting at the thing that people need help with.
Mm.
People tend to need help with like how do I get one open? You know,
Yeah.
it's really hard to
Mhm.
find a location. It's really hard to find the financing and the capital. Um,
Mhm.
but like running it day to day is a lot less challenging. So
Mhm. So, did you end up, like, selling off to private equity or just a general group?
I sold out to my other investors in the business and to my
Oh,
business
okay.
partners. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, great model. It was so much fun. It's a really, really cool experience. Plus, you got the rock climbing side, right? And then the other side is I forgot what's the name of that where it's lower
Uh,
height, but you're
yeah. So your typical climb facility is going to have the rope climbing. They're going to have
yeah,
bouldering, and then
bouldering. Yeah.
yeah, which is where you're just falling onto a pad.
Mhm.
And then there's most fitness climbing gyms now have like a fitness area and a
Mhm.
yoga room as well. So
Mm. The bouldering, man, that was hard. You don't think that it doesn't look hard, but when you're up there, it's hard to hang on and to try and go from one peg to the next. That's
yeah.
really hard.
So basically, like a bouldering route is supposed to be like the very hardest movement that's on a rope route.
Mm.
So it's intended to be like the equivalent, like from a weightlifting world, would be like bouldering is supposed to be like powerlifting,
Mhm.
like extreme, like difficult, as much as you can do all at once.
Mhm.
Whereas
Mm.
rope climbing is more like endurance. You know,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So, what do you think was one of the hardest things that you had to go through or do while you were trying to scale the business from, basically 0 to 7 units in less than 10 years?
Um, well, there was two things. One of them is like an unexpected event, which you could probably guess.
Mm.
The other was, like I said, like operating one facility is pretty easy. You know,
Mhm.
you're going to the facility, or you can see it yourself, and it's all you can keep an eye on it. Well, once you start going to multiple, it starts becoming about the systems that you have, the rules that you set for staff.
Mhm.
You start going from your job is to like tell people what to do and to get involved, to evaluate what's happening.
Mhm.
Um, and so the management challenge from going from one facility, I would say when you're running one facility, you're not necessarily really managing that much. But
Mhm.
um, when you have multiple, now all of a sudden you're really a manager.
Mhm. Yeah.
um,
Yep.
at least for climbing gyms. I think other types of facilities are going to be a lot different. Um, and then, and so that was kind of like one of the real challenges. And I think like a really like kind of concrete example was there was like a long period of time where we weren't big enough to have like an HR person.
Mm.
So I was managing all the staff. So I was the HR person. Um, so like all those like little like employee issues that like a gym manager couldn't take care of was they were going to me, and I had to like talk to them. And every facility you're opening, it's those little issues are going up by multiples, right?
Mhm.
Like all of a
Yep.
sudden you have 3 people with issues and 4 people
Yeah.
with issues.
Yep.
And yet we still weren't big enough to just say, here's an HR person, go talk to them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so that was extremely challenging, you know.
Mm.
Um, and like kind of along the same lines, just time management.
Mm.
Like I can't. Well, for a while, all of our facilities were in Chicago, but it would be like, oh wow, this is a 4 gym day. I'm driving to 4 locations all in one day. So
Mhm.
that's 4 hours of my day. It's just meant going from one place to another to do my
In
inspections.
Chicago traffic at that.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's not a good use of time.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where it gets back to like, okay, how do you put in place people that know what the standard is and
Mhm.
know that you can count on? And
Mhm.
so that was the challenge for many years. Um, I can maybe challenge 1A or 1B was we were expanding as we were figuring out those systems.
Sure.
So that's tough, you know, like just setting up a new gym takes 3 years, and there's lots of
Wow.
conversations, lots of back and forth, and at the same time you're trying to figure out how to operate a gym. So
Mhm.
that's a real stretch on your abilities for sure as a
Mhm.
manager. So all that kind of gives a flavor of what I think was challenging about expansion. Um, the thing that really threw a wrench in everything for us was COVID. So
Mm,
COVID
yeah.
happened, and
In Illinois at that.
in Illinois, so our facilities all closed for COVID,
Mhm.
and then we had one facility that was in. We had 2 facilities in construction and one facility that was in the middle of an expansion
Mm.
during right when COVID hit.
Mm.
So you're talking about facilities that were getting multiple hundreds of people a day to zero all at
Mhm.
once
Mhm.
without
Mhm.
any clarity on when that was going to change. And
Mm.
then when we were able to open with a reservation system and all of these odd things, the rules were still changing every week.
Yeah, they were. Yep.
And so it was just extremely challenging uh, during that whole time. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yes, it was. And I had a lot of, because I have friends that own gyms in Illinois, and I'm right outside of Chicago in the corner of Indiana, and it was
Mhm.
vastly different,
Yeah.
the rule set. You guys were closed down way longer than us,
Yeah.
and then even when you did open, your rule set was way more stringent than us.
Yeah.
Um, for us, we had an influx of Illinois people coming over the border
Yeah.
to get gym memberships just because of either you guys were closed or when you guys were open, they hated working out in the facilities because of the amount of rules that they had to abide by, from the state.
That's actually the first I've heard that, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So we had our facilities in Chicago, and then we also had a facility in Peoria, Illinois, which is a rural area,
Mhm.
about 2 hours from Chicago. And what was interesting for us about that facility is, yeah, like basically like the metro area was kind of like, for the most part, like very few COVID rules.
Mhm.
But then my staff that worked at the facility were like, no, no, we should have the rules that are in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
We want the Chicago rules because it's not right for us to be any other way.
Yeah.
So that was an example of something we had to manage through. And they were literally like, we should only let 5 people into the gym at a time. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
we shouldn't even be open if that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Do you like a paycheck?
yeah, yeah, there was a fair amount of that too. Yeah.
Mhm. So, w after doing that and now that you've exited, is it just all of that? You just kind of fell out of love with that business? Were you just ready to take a different direction?
I mean, I have business partners who were really involved and did a lot for the business too. And COVID was just so tough. It was
Mhm.
really tough on
Mhm.
all of us. And, there was disputes and things, and I just wanted out. you know.
Mm,
So yeah.
mhm. And so now, so what direction are you heading now?
So I do a little bit of consulting here and there, mostly for clients that are referred to me.
Mhm,
But if anyone's interested, feel free to drop me a line. And then I still work on. I've getting involved in other businesses. Right now, I purchased an aquarium store that's kind of on the Indiana Chicago border, so probably not too far
mm.
from you. And I've been working on it for about 2 years now, and I've been redeveloping it and resetting it up and getting it ready for growth. Yeah.
That is one hell of a switch from, climbing gyms to an aquarium store.
But see, there is a connection. And basically, like if you think about rock climbing,
Uh-huh.
uh, people that get into it, they identify as climbers. And
Mm,
then aquariums is the same way. Like if people are really into the hobby, they think of themselves as an aquarium nerd. And so, from a marketing standpoint, in particular, the ethos is really similar. And
mm,
so, like in rock climbing, most of the employees you hire, they're climbers, and same
mhm,
thing with aquariums. So the connection is like it's a lifestyle hobby. Yeah.
mm, mm. And so, this is something that you would like to work on scaling as well to multiple
Yeah,
locations?
I don't know if it's going to be multiple locations, but I'm like expanding into in-home service, expanding into online sales, um, all things that the previous owner of this business hadn't worked on. So,
Okay. And now do you when you get involved in a business, are you focused on just that one, or are you trying to buy other businesses as well?
I look at all the opportunities. I try to be aware of what my time limitations are, but
Mhm.
I definitely have looked at a lot of things. So.
And then what does your consulting services look like? What do you consult on?
I mostly consult for people who are trying to expand or grow their business. So,
Mm,
or people that are just pure startups.
mhm,
And I do a lot of just financial work, like helping people forecast. Um, and then I do a lot of just business feasibility work, like
mhm,
sitting down
mhm,
with someone and just, I think this idea will work. I don't know if it'll work. I suggest you talk to so and so and see what they think.
mhm,
Here's a potential path forward that I think might work for you. I've
mhm,
done a lot of that, and then similarly, like with just business expansion as well. So
mhm. Now, is this mostly for brick and mortar, retail, or what type of, or any business?
mostly brick and mortar retail. Yeah,
Do you think that, because I feel like that space is so hard nowadays, because
it is.
everything is online, right?
Yeah, and it's like I've probably consulted for two clients who were, should I expand into online sales?
Mm,
And in both cases, the answer was no. Because
mhm,
they had a great boutique store, they had a dedicated set of customers, and then like people were coming to them to pay premium prices.
mhm,
And the thing about being online is it's kind of a race to the bottom price wise.
mm,
So you have
mm.
to be careful about how you mix online versus in store.
Yeah.
But to your point, it is a really tough retail environment to be in, just in store. And
Mhm,
you got to kind of find the right types of products, the right types of situation, some kind of a moat that protects you from Amazon,
mhm,
and really have a really good sales funnel, particularly.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember when I bought the gyms, my first goal was turning them around, and then, from there, I wanted to scale, right? I wanted to get to 30 locations. That was my idea of
Okay.
success because, the idea is you could scale to, if you scale to 5 plus locations, now you start getting the eyes of private equity looking at you. So you've got a clear exit strategy. And then when you get above 10, your multiple goes up of what PE is willing to buy you for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get towards 30, it goes up even more, right? I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
let's get to 30, right?
Yeah.
Um, and this was the same time that Planet Fitness was aggressively expanding as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was part of a franchise at the time. But kind of similar to what you were dealing with, it's hard to find real estate. And when you do find real estate, it's very hard to get um, tenant restrictions lifted for gyms because a lot of times you're going up against next to some large retailer or a grocery store or a JC Penney, and they don't want gyms next to them because they take up so
That
much
that
parking.
that was actually something I ran into a lot when trying to develop climbing gyms. Was
Really?
like, oh, well, will you do your climbing gym with no fitness and no yoga? And
Mm,
it was kind of like that's just not our model. That's not what we do.
yeah.
But those restrictions make it tough for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still don't understand it, to be honest with you, because I don't think that in terms of parking, I don't think the parking situation for a gym is any more aggressive than a regular retail store. And in fact, if I was a large retailer, especially a grocery chain, I would want that I would want that gym there because what are people going to do when they leave the gym? They're going to go do their grocery shopping, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to, you know, I, what I found was the people that I could sell in like a fitness concept to tended it to be had to be a little bit more open minded.
Mhm.
Um, if if they were like kind of classic real estate person, it was just
Mhm.
kind of like they would write me off before I could get started, or
Mhm.
what they'd be offering me was like such crap
Yeah.
that it would be like, yeah, not interested.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, and really generally like all of the best opportunities we had, it took years.
Yep.
It took years,
Mhm.
and when I say it took years, I mean like you would talk to them and they say, hey, the rent is $50 a square foot. I'm making up a number. Like, ah,
Yeah.
that's just not going to work.
Mhm.
And then 2 months later, what about if we did this plus some tenant odds? Maybe, but not really. Well, let me have my
Mhm.
business partner come over and look at it too. And it would be just like this prolonged, like in and out conversation until all
Mhm.
of a sudden would become a palatable deal.
Mhm.
And it seemed like that was the way would usually work. Um,
Mhm.
I didn't find that many opportunities where I could really force it to happen. Like
Yeah.
like speed was not really an option. So
Yep.
how was it for you?
Very similar. Very, very similar. My when I was looking at scaling, I was looking heavily into Illinois, the burbs of
Yeah.
Chicago. So I was going out and looking at units in Naperville, Schaumburg, Arlington Heights, all those places. And because the demographics are great, right? For a gym, you need to have X
Hmm.
amount of people within a certain square mile or radius, and then you need them to have an average household income of this, blah 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 blah. And those markets are phenomenal, right? And then it's same thing as you is you go and look at a space and you go back and forth with the landlord. We're starting rent is this. No, we need this plus TI um yeah, it was a lot of back and forth but hey, everything happens for a reason. Uh and I'm glad I didn't scale because I, I I think that kind of what you were saying earlier is for me, I'm a solopreneur, right? So it's only me. And so I don't have an E suite or a C suite or, high level managers working for me. And so you're right. You're dealing with all those HR problems. And then when you're trying to, and the sales problems and the maintenance, the facility problems, the equipment problems, right? And so when you're trying to scale, and you're out there, going looking at all these units, and then you're talking with landlords, and you're doing all this back and forth, and then you're doing pro formas for banks, and you're trying to arrange equipment and getting quotes from it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not saying I couldn't have done it. I could have, but I think that it becomes very hard when you're trying to do it all by yourself. And then COVID hit, right? And I always tell the story on my podcast. You know, I was part of a World Gym franchise, and my franchise agreement was up at the end December 31st of 2019,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And so they changed their franchise agreement where they wanted to do percentage of revenue, and I didn't agree with it. And so
Oh
I ended
no.
up canceling my franchise agreement
Okay.
and started my own brand. So January 1 of 2020, I opened as Grit Fitness, and then literally 60 days later, we were shut down for COVID.
Wow. Okay.
So did this massive rebrand, new website, new everything, right? And then we're shut down. We're shut down for 3 months. And then we reopened. It was gangbusters because everyone was like stir crazy from being locked up. And then the states started putting in all of these restrictions again. And then our sales just plummeted.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I talk about this on the podcast. I'm pretty transparent about it. We're still nowhere near what we were pre-COVID in terms of volume of customers or even the number of check-ins that we're doing or workouts per day that we're doing. A lot of it is because there's more competition in the market, but still, it's not the same market.
I would be curious, like, what we found was the locations were performing differently. So, like, we
Hmm.
had, like, one location downtown that was different now, different than
Hmm.
one that was, outside of, downtown. Like, where people were living and going had changed,
Yep.
which is okay, like, if you had running a facility for 20 years and you kinda had built up a base, but for us, like, everything was pretty new within a few years, and you had signed rent and things on an assumption that the population was gonna be in a place, and that had changed
Mm,
post-COVID.
mm.
It's like, "Oh, wow, like, there's fewer people downtown in Chicago now. Oh, crap." What
That
do you
is
do?
that's
So
huge. Yeah, that is,
so
man. I think our side of Indiana, close to the Illinois border, because we're actually where I'm at is considered Chicagoland, and I'm using air quotes
yeah, yeah.
because we're so close to the city.
Mhm.
We have so many commuters that technically we're almost considered like a suburb of Chicago because we're so close, even though we're in Indiana.
Yeah.
And so when COVID happened and Illinois was one, so stringent with their COVID laws, and two, the property taxes are absolutely astronomical in Illinois. We have had a huge influx of Illinois people moving to Indiana now
Mhm.
because of that.
I mean,
Huge.
and then you think about, like, your typical fitness facility in Chicagoland area, it's like, oh, you have 20,000 square feet, you have all this equipment.
Mhm.
Their property taxes are
Yeah.
tripling.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's a huge number already because of the
Mhm.
size of your space.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't like any large fitness facility in Chicagoland area is just going to have no choice but to be way more expensive than Indiana. Like, that's
Yep.
just the way it's going to be. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
um,
And on top of that, I believe they also changed their minimum wage laws as well in the city.
yep, yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of a, and then utility costs. I don't know what they're like in Illinois now, but here, NIPSCO has, I mean, holy shit, man. In the last 90, 60, 90 days,
Hmm.
people's NIPSCO bills have doubled.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's crazy. So you couple that, if the same things happen in Illinois, like as a business owner, the only choice that you have one of two choices. You either cut costs somewhere else or you're going to have to raise your prices. It's the
mhm.
only way you're going to be able to survive.
Well, what the general public tends to think is like, oh, you just make so much money that you can afford
Yeah.
it. It's not really
Right.
that way.
Right. Right.
Except every once in a while, you have a home run, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
But basically, you need those home runs to pay for the strikeouts.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, I think the other interesting thing that's happening in the climbing industry, I'm kind of curious if it's happening throughout fitness, is climbing gyms are starting to be unionized.
Really?
Yeah. So like the people that work at climbing gyms increasingly are unionized. So
Wow.
so that's a whole nother level of complexity. So
I, yeah, I don't, man. That's interesting because in the gym world, most of the people that are working in the facility, I mean, I shouldn't say most, but a large chunk of the people that are working in the fitness facility are either high schoolers or college people that are just working the front desk, um, just to have some income while they're in school because it's easy work, right? You're just checking people in. Um, you have very little high skilled employees in the gym business other than your managers, your personal trainers, and then if you're running group exercise.
Mhm.
Outside of that, it's pretty basic, non skilled work, right? It's, I would be, I would be, really surprised if that started happening. I shouldn't say I'd be surprised, but I could see it happening in the gym space too.
Yeah, I don't think climbing gyms are that different in terms of the
No.
profile of employees. There are other people that put the holds on the wall, like
Mhm.
their route setters, and that
Mhm.
I think and it's a rough approximation. I would say it's probably most similar to like a skilled trainer.
Mhm.
Someone that built up a book of business and has a lot of clients at a
Mhm.
gym. That would
Mhm.
probably be the
Mhm.
most equivalent to a route setter.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, basically nationally, there's a number of climbing gyms that have been unionized now, um,
Wow.
and it's a whole new world. Like, I don't think anyone really knows what's going to come of it. So,
Right. Yeah. I have a buddy that's got some gyms out in, out west. I won't say which state, but out west, and, he was telling me that, they made the decision because COVID was so hard on the staff, they made the decision that they were gonna give everybody a $2 an hour raise, and
hmm
they wanted to bring them up to, I think it was like $15 an hour or something like that. And so he was all excited about doing it because they got out of COVID, and he was in another state that had very high restrictions.
hmm
His business was suffering quite a bit, and he got out of it and by the skin of his teeth, and he really wanted to reward his staff, and he wanted to give them, this $2 an hour raise and set that as the minimum now. And then literally the week before he was going to do this, the state came out and announced their new minimum wage plan, and the new minimum wage plan was $2 more an hour.
yeah,
And so what he thought he was doing good, the employees ended up just being bitter because they thought, "Oh, you're just doing this because the state is forcing you to do it now," when he had planned 60 days prior to do it, but he had to get all these ducks in a row first, right, to be
right,
able to
right,
do
right.
it. This is business though. I mean, people don't understand this is part of business.
Yeah, and it's funny you're saying that. I essentially had the exact same thing happen. Like
Really?
we used to always pay well more than minimum wage, and then because we wanted to be a high value employer, and the minimum wage just kept coming up. It was like,
Mhm. Mhm.
oh, we were trying to be more than minimum wage, but now minimum wage is so much higher. What do we do here?
Yeah. Right.
Um, yeah, I think what's tough as business owners, and I think this is true for probably all fitness opportunities, is your most of your costs are upfront costs. They're sunk
Mhm.
costs. You're putting a lot of capital into these facilities, and you usually know, like, yeah, I can raise my prices. You usually know you can, but you also know, like, at some point there's a cliff,
Yep.
and like everybody disappears.
Yep.
And that's what sucks is like, okay, your costs are raising, you're going to raise your rates, and at some point it's all just going to fall apart, and that. At least I
Yep.
always knew that. It's like at some point,
Yep.
like, you just lose them,
Yeah.
and it's just very scary, and it's out of your control. you know
Mhm.
like minimum wage, property taxes, utilities, those are all
Mhm.
fixed costs that you don't control.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
um the thing you do control is rent, I guess.
Yeah,
So
to an extent. Yeah.
to an extent, you can always complain.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Do you follow or have you read any of Thomas Sowell's uh books?
remind me of some of the titles.
Oh my gosh. He's the economist at Stanford that has written God, he's written so many books. Um
It sounds
well,
familiar. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's written so many books. He's a really really good speaker, writer, and his ideas I think are extremely spot on, but most people don't want to believe it. But one thing that he says, and I agree with this 100%. He thinks that the minimum wage law is terrible because when you're hiring employees, it's a competitive market. So you have to hire somebody based on what basically everyone else is paying for a similar job, right? And
Hmm.
so why would you set a minimum wage? I mean, here in Indiana, the minimum wage is $7.25. There's no way am I going to be able to hire somebody right now for $7.25.
Hmm.
I have to pay somebody 10, 12, $15 an hour because if I put an ad out there for $7.25, I'm either I'm going to get somebody that is just not a good employee or I'm not going to get anyone applying for that job, right? So when you put a job ad out there, you have to be competitive enough with your wages to attract the talent that you're looking for. And a minimum wage law by a state is not going to change that factor because now all of that you've done is if you've set the minimum wage to say like California, $20 an hour, one of two things are going to happen. Either the business owner is going to find ways not to employ that labor, meaning AI, automations, now robotics, or you're going to have to uh, change the price that or the pay that you're willing to employ at to stay competitive above the new minimum wage, which also means that you're going to have to raise your prices in order to get there.
Yeah, I think this is why most economists hate the minimum wage concept. Is and it's like really similar to like taxation in
Mhm.
that it alters behavior, and
Mhm.
it's basically altering business and people's behavior in ways that are not like maximum efficiency, right?
Mhm.
So, it like you're saying, like if the minimum wage gets really high, oh, I'm only going to hire high schoolers now.
Mhm.
I'll hire like the cheapest possible people, or
Mhm.
oh, I'll just go with one person, or oh, now I'm not going to build another facility.
Right.
Um, or and so like basically it's the government stepping in and uh, manipulating the economy, and
Mhm.
that's not necessarily what we want.
Right.
And the problem is we always think we everyone we think we know what's going to happen, but we don't.
Right.
like
Yep.
uh, the economy and the inflows and outflows is extremely complicated, and it's just there's just unpredictable effects from all of these things.
Mhm.
And I mean, the one example that I can think of that used to annoy the heck out of me is I'd have like really great employees, and they'd be like, "I want to work more than 30 hours a week," and I'd be like, "Well, I can't because I can't pay for your insurance,
Mm.
right?" Like, "Oh, I don't care. I can get insurance from somebody else." That's not how it works. Like,
Mhm.
if you're over 30, I got to pay you insurance, and I just can't do that.
Mhm.
Um, so there's literally an example where I think it was a well-intentioned rule, like it's a good
Yeah.
idea, but the reality was like all these people ended up having to have second jobs
Mhm.
because when they didn't want to, you know,
Mhm.
and it's just not like it's not good.
Yeah.
The unintended side effects were negative for most people. Um,
Yeah.
So I just think,
That's a good point. I never thought about that,
yeah.
about the health insurance, because that is a huge
Hmm.
cost to an employer. Huge.
Right. Like, and you're not gonna, if you have an enterprising 18-year-old that's just like, hey, I just want to work 40 hours a week, learn the whole climbing gym industry or whole fitness gym industry. Like, I'm really into this and I want to become a manager. You're like, wow, this
Mhm.
person's like gold. Like, let's do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, oh, you can only work 30 hours a week,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
stay at 29.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're not full time. I'm not making you full
Right.
time.
Right.
And so it's not the right incentive for the person or for the business, really, in that case.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and it leads to I think a lot of people having two jobs, which
Mhm.
isn't the best either. So,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, I don't know what the minimum wage should be. I do think there should be laws and regulations that stop businesses from abusing employees. Um,
Sure.
but there are a lot of those laws and regulations,
There is.
Um,
But I
so
also think that this isn't like it was back in the,
the
early
coal mine,
1900,
yeah,
late. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. We're having children work in these
yeah,
harsh environments. I mean, we've evolved beyond that. So,
yeah. And it's kind of like, would you hire, a 16-year-old with that first job at $20 an hour?
no. No.
Right? I like it's like, but don't they want that first job? Don't we
Yeah.
want that? We want people to start work. It's an odd. This minimum wage stuff is. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah,
Yeah.
work the way
Yeah.
we want it to. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, like at least in Chicago, I think part of what's driving it is property taxes
Mhm.
because they want to raise property taxes, and they're like, well, no one can afford to pay the property taxes. Okay, well, we'll make everybody get paid more. There's loop that's happening.
Not only
Uh,
that, but your guys' sales tax is like 11%.
10.75. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's insane.
yeah. So it's like all these taxes, and we're paying people's pensions and the government and stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
um, it's a huge cost to society. And it's kind of like, where does it end? Is I guess the real
Mhm.
question. So
Mhm. Yeah, and I know this has been a huge topic conversation lately, is the amount of taxation now, but you figure we as America, I mean, the Boston Tea Party was throwing all of the tea in the Boston Harbor over a 2% tax. 2%.
yeah,
And now the average person is paying, at least when you add up all the taxes, 50% of their wages are go to taxation.
and I think what's interesting is I think a business owner, an entrepreneur, like I think most of us tend to have like a really real in
Mhm.
quotes perspective on this because we're working. Like
Yep.
we're working. It's not like we're trust. Most of us aren't trust fund babies who just aren't working for a living, but we're
Yep.
also business owners and we're paying people,
Mhm.
and we have that responsibility. So most of us have like a pretty real perspective. Like, and when I talk to entrepreneurs, like most of us we just want it to work. We just want it to work. We want there to be a
Yep.
cycle that works.
Mhm.
Um, and I think most of us, probably at some level are like, yeah, it's kind of broken, like the
Mhm.
system as it is. Um, it shouldn't be no regulations, but it shouldn't be what it is now either. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And of course, it's never going to be perfect. Um, but
But it
could
could
be
be
better.
more efficient.
Yeah, I think efficient is probably the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like what was the for a fitness gym? What tended to be the most significant staffing issue for you? Like just finding a
Now,
manager now or over the years? Like finding a good manager, harassment.
um, yeah, all the above, to be honest with you, especially post-COVID. Again, I talk about this all the
Yeah,
time, but
yeah.
I feel that the quality of employees pre-COVID versus post-COVID is vastly different because, again, I mostly have kids. I mean, they're not kids, but they are to me,
Mhm.
working the front desk. And so, um, the people that I'm hiring now that are, between 17 and let's say 21, somewhere in there to work the
Mhm.
front, those are the same kids that grew up during COVID where they were locked at their house with no real school
Mhm.
for months doing classes via Zoom, and they all have cell phones that when they're not in front of the computer screen doing Zoom, they're now in front of their cell phone screen dicking around throughout
Right.
their shift,
Right.
And so I feel like it's much harder to get engaged people to work for you. When I say engaged, meaning someone that could actually hold a conversation, look you in the eye, or pay attention to what's going on because they're so distracted by everything else. I think the staff that I have now is great. That's what we look for in our hiring process. But pre-COVID, I didn't really have to worry about it as much as I do now. And then kind of to your point, the younger generation feels they should come out of high school and make $20 an hour. And this is a low skill. It's a entry level position, right? You haven't even really been a part of the workforce, so you've got to get your feet wet before you can get to that next level.
Yeah, and I think kind of the corollary to what you're saying that I found in the climbing gym industry was just a lot of entitlement.
Mhm.
Um, because people would be like, "I'm a really good rock climber.
Mm.
Like, I bring so much value to your business because I'm a really good rock climber. Like, look at
Mhm.
me. Like,
Yeah.
I climb for 2 months out of the year. You should pay me more
Yeah.
the other 10 months of the year." And I kind of recall having these conversations. I was like, actually, the person that works for me year round is more valuable
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
time. Like, 'cause they learn
Yeah.
more.
Yep.
And you climbing really hard, like most of the people in here are beginners. Like, they don't
Mhm.
even know what you're
Mhm.
doing when you climb these super hard routes.
Yep.
Um, and so I think entitlement is a real challenge right now, and I do think there's a social media element to it because
Mhm.
you're talking about like a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old, 25-year-old who's like looking on Instagram and everyone's got a Ferrari
Yeah.
and they've got a Ferrari and they work at a fitness gym. Like, wait, but they
Yeah.
think that's the way it's going to be for them, um, and they
Little
have
do they know.
yeah, they don't know. And why do they think it that way? Because they have the evidence. It's
Mhm.
been shown
Mhm.
to them that way. Um, and I do think it's always been challenging just to find people that are motivated to grow and to learn. Like, an awful lot of people are just like they're there for the paycheck,
Yeah.
and figuring out, especially if you want to scale your business, figuring out how to identify people that are motivated
Mhm.
to earn it, have
Mhm.
that attitude
Mhm.
is kind of one of the tricks for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I think every industry is probably a little different how you find those people.
Yep.
But but yeah, I like dealing with entitlement was always for me. I'm a very straight up person. Like, you did it or you didn't do it. Or you either ran the
Yeah.
4 minute mile or you didn't. You either lifted 200 pounds or you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and just kind of approaching those people that are like think they did it and they didn't do it. Like,
Mhm.
it's very tough to manage that. I mean, like our average age I think was 25, maybe
Oh,
younger,
wow. Okay.
um, of staff, and it's like, oh wow, like, and then like you said, like COVID happens, and um, that was actually like one of the really kind of deep realizations I had coming out of COVID because so many people were so angry at like me and my business
Mhm.
partner. And when I say people, like my staff, and I was like, why are you guys angry? Like all the gyms were closed, you know. And at some level, they were angry. We fired them, like we laid them off,
Mm,
and
mhm.
it just never occurred to me because I'm thinking like all my gyms are closed. Like there's no way you could still have a job.
Right.
But they're thinking like you know we worked so hard for you all these years. You don't pay us enough, and now you fire us. Like screw you.
Mhm.
Um, and and it, in some sense they're right. Like we could have communicated better. We could have done things better about. It. But in another way, it's like they're thinking they're entitled to the job,
Mm, mm.
and that's a tough one as a business owner. You look at your bottom line, and you know, like sometimes you can't afford it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And how many times do you pay people, and you're like, wow, this is just coming out of my pay.
Mhm.
It's just because I
Yeah,
need them here.
yep,
And when people are asking for more money, and it's tough to stomach it sometimes. So,
yep. Very, very true. I mean, I think most people don't get that about businesses, even these large businesses, Amazon, all these others, they don't really see that the level of low margin that most of these large companies work at. They just see the billions or trillions of dollars that they're doing in top line revenue, but they don't understand the cost behind that revenue.
right, like you think about your typical grocery store. Like
Yeah.
they're doing a lot. A single grocery store does huge volume of revenue, but their
Mhm.
margin is like 2%.
2%.
two
Yep.
percent. Like it's nothing. Like
Mhm.
so they
I
make
mean,
yeah.
think about that, Joe. Like if you're doing $10 million in revenue, gross revenue,
Hmm.
and you make 2%, you make $20,000 that year.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I won't get out of bed like if
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
not worth my time,
Right.
you know.
And man, and so yeah, that's the challenge of retail in general, and
Mhm.
uh, like that's for like particularly for the online businesses that are so generous with return policy and stuff. That makes it really hard on the in-store
Yep.
experience because
Yep.
they don't get the same kind of agreements that the online retailers get for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I mean, we've talked a lot about the negative, but I think the positive is for anybody that has a physical location, a fitness center. I think the desire for connection is as strong as it's ever been. It's probably stronger
Mhm. Mhm.
because people are stuck online and they need a physical place to go. Um,
Oh, that's
and
why I said at the beginning of the
yeah,
podcast. I mean, I think that's why your brand, your business model was so successful because it created that community
hmm,
because you had all of these people that were doing something together.
right. And it's not a bar.
Yeah.
You're not going
Right.
out for drinks. You're going out to do
Yeah.
something physical and fun. And
Yeah.
I think the same is true of like a regular fitness gym.
Mhm.
And I think the
Mhm.
same is true of an aquarium store. Like people go there because they want to see the fish and talk to other people about fish.
Mm.
Um, so there's something important about those spaces that offer connection to people, and people
Mhm.
do want that. Um,
Mhm.
and it's on us as entrepreneurs to figure out how to monetize it
Yep.
and how to make it
Yeah.
make money. Um,
Yep.
but it is, I think, a real service that the world needs right now because there aren't that many
Mm.
places to go for people.
No.
Yeah.
No. No. And in fact, less and less people are drinking now too.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
not as many people going to that bar.
So what do you think is like what is your most common like complaint that you get about one of your gyms that you're just like that's just BS? I hate this complaint.
Um, that's a good question. Most common complaint would either be cleanliness or they wish that we had more selection of equipment. And I will tell you, so of course I'm going to push back on both.
Hmm.
Selection of equipment. There is no other gym in my area well, there's one other, but it's much, much
Yeah.
smaller. There is no other gym in my area at my size, my scale, that has the selection of equipment that I do.
Yeah.
No Planet, no Anytime,
Mhm.
not even the YMCA. And the YMCA they're massive multi-million dollar facilities, right?
Yeah.
We have pieces in our gym that no other gym in this area has. And in terms of cleanliness, I did a massive renovation that I finished in 2023. This gym has probably never been cleaner. And because one of the things that we instituted and we never took off of payroll was a full-time custodial staff that is constantly cleaning the gym.
Mhm.
The three C's in success in the gym is in this order: is convenience, cleanliness, and cost.
Yep.
The
Mhm.
three C's. So the first thing is, how close is your gym? The closer you are to the rooftops, the better you're going to do.
Mhm.
How clean is your gym? The cleaner your gym is, the better it's going to be for overall, because people like seeing a clean facility. And then cost is the last thing. And there's proof to that, because my same exact model, I could move my same exact model into a suburb of Chicago and charge twice as much, and still be as successful, in that
Mhm.
market, paying twice as much.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm. So, like, climbing gyms, exact same. Cost,
mhm,
cleanliness, convenience, exact same. Um, and actually, like, aquarium stores, exactly the same. Like, people, cost matters. Like, how much do
mhm,
the fish cost? How much do the inventory cost?
mhm,
Convenience. Well, like, a lot of people like to visit their fish store like every week and see
mm,
what's come in. And if it's far, they're not just not going to do it.
mhm,
Um, and then cleanliness, like, people don't like to buy things, living creature, from a place that's dirty. Like,
sure.
they want everything to look really alive. Um, and so the complaint that bothers me with, like, my current businesses, like, I literally have, like, people that are cleaning day, every
Yeah.
day.
Mhm,
And people will be like, write like a negative review, or like tell me directly, like, oh, you have algae in these tanks. And I'm like, yeah, like, literally, like one person was out for the week and we're
mm,
behind on cleaning, but it's just algae. Like, it's not
yeah,
really, it's not going to affect the lives of the fish at all.
sure.
So it's just kind of, I guess that expectation that sometimes client have of like perfect cleanliness at all times.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
wow, like, that's an unachievable result,
yeah,
and a really an unrealistic one. But yet it's still there. Like, you're supposed to be exactly clean at the moment that person walks in,
mhm,
and that's
mhm.
really tough. That's really a tough, tough, goal to achieve. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
you can't be, like you said, people are searching for perfection, and that's just not possible.
yeah. Or I
Yeah.
maybe it would be, but the amount it would cost would
Mhm.
never work.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a great conversation. Where can people get a hold of you, learn more about you, or get involved with your consulting services?
Like, best places to reach me is, you could go reach out to me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Joe Zentmyer on LinkedIn, or if you want, you could go to my website, snaggletoothsgoby.com.
Got it. I'll put all of that in the show notes. Joe, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.